A very good evening and welcome to this edition of the Fourth Estate. Charles Mangu Shampagi, and tonight we'll continue discussing the 2016 elections, the aftermath. Today, let me start by making an announcement. We should have been doing a completely different show from what we're having. Our initial intention was to drive to Kasangati this late hour of the night and interview Dr. Kizza Besigye from his compound, because he says his home in Kasangati has turned into some kind of prison and he wasn't allowed to get out. We spent a lot of time trying to get to link up with the police, the Uganda police, to give us clearance so that we could go to Kasangati, and we weren't successful to get the officers on their telephones. But what we also know is that you might have seen in on the NTV News, Dr. Kizza Besigye was able to drive out of his home, attend to church services, one at All Saints Church Nakasero, All Saints Cathedral Nakasero, and also attend another service at the Watoto Church. And then he had, of course, what was expected, the run around with the police, briefly detained at Kira Road Police Station, and then later he was able to go back home. So we can't, as we do a discussion tonight, that needs to be put into consideration. Let me start with a joke that's making the rounds on social media. I've seen it in one of the platforms. There's a platform for Mpanga Old Students Association, and they say it's a conversation between a teacher and a pupil. And the teacher asks, "Who is Uganda's president?" And the kid answers, "His Excellency Kizza Besigye." The teacher asks, "Where is State House located?" And the pupil says, "Kasangati." The teacher asks, "What makes you think so?" And the kid answers, "Ever since the general elections, he has had a lot of policemen with him, and even those white delegates no longer drive to Entebbe but drive to Kasangati." And then the teacher asks, "Okay, where is the president's office?" And the kid answers, "Nagalama Police Station." The teacher asks, "Why do you think so?" The kid answers, "You see, every morning, men with a lot of guns drive him to Nagalama Police Station, and later in the evening after work, they drive him back to State House in Kasangati." The state of affairs, the aftermath of the Ugandan election held on 18th February 2016, that by declaring results gives President Museveni another shot at the presidency and continues his tenancy at the State House for another 5 years. Let me introduce tonight in studio. Moses Yarhanga is a senior presidential advisor on political affairs. He spent the last 6 months, but I know for a much longer time, combing the countryside, drawing strategy to ensure Yoweri Museveni gets re-elected. Moses, very nice to have you.
Thank you, Charles.
It's the first time we're having you in the protest.
It's the first time. I've not been here.
Okay. And of course, my colleague, Onapito Ekomoloit, who is Corporate Affairs Director.
I must acknowledge Moses as one of my political mentors during the good old days.
You're the second person.
This guy was an MP. I've not had an MP.
You're the second person.
When I went to the real state, I was not
you're the second person to publicly announce that Moses Yarhanga was your mentor. The other person was the former Vice President, Professor Gilbert of Kenya,
who was appointed by Moses. I have no power to do so. Well, I have met honor in Katakwi. Amuria. During the by-election. This was which year?
Now it's forgotten.
You know better.
So you helped him to come to Parliament?
I didn't help him. I went there to observe what was going on, and the people voted him to power.
No, you don't observe like CN was observing recently, or the EU. Your observation takes a different dimension. So you went to help him to assess whether he was with you or against.
No, he came to see the only election where there was no allegation of rigging. So it went well. By that time, the late Kabalo was NPC. So he asked me and said, go and find out what's happening in this by-election. He was signing against the old man, former UPC minister from Benetono.
And you floored him. And then he
had the chance to floor me like that. So
I did some research, and when I came, I said, this young man is elected to win, and he won. So he had mobilized the world.
Okay, well, a lot of people here, when State House people deploy in their constituencies, they are going to fight them. And so they come out screaming and kicking. Now, gentlemen, tomorrow, most likely, this is still some bit of speculation, but most likely one of the presidential candidates, John Patrick Amama-Mbabazi, JPAM, of the Go Forward platform, is likely to file his petition to the Supreme Court of Uganda challenging the results of the February 18th election. The Saturday Monitor reported yesterday to that effect that the Go Forward team has decided to petition the Supreme Court and file a case, to challenge the results and seek a recount of the ballots. The Electoral Commission, after a lot of pressure, has finally, I was checking just a few minutes ago before I came in here, they have uploaded the results from polling stations. Some interesting, very, very interesting polling stations, especially Kiruhura district is posting some very interesting results, where voter turnout is unprecedented compared to the rest of the country, and the scores of the candidates also presenting some interesting results. But JPAM was blocked from visiting Dr. Kizza Besigye. The police said that they suspected they were going to conspire about something. Yet, from what we know, is the Go Forward team and Kizza Besigye was one up, and the Front for Democratic Change are trying to find a way. If Besigye has been prevented by the police from leaving his home, from working to prepare his case, that means his chances are being limited. Let me start with you, Moses Bwarhanga. You held an election, and for the first time, it's unprecedented that hardly anyone is celebrating that victory. How do you feel? It's like...
You see, our celebration is planned. We held the presidential elections on, the results were announced on Saturday. 20th. The president addressed a press conference to Electoral on Sunday. There have been planned celebrations on the Monday, which was 22nd. But that Monday, children are going back to school. We are going to have, the following Wednesday, we had the LC5 elections. The following, this coming week, Wednesday, I think, we have other local government elections at LC3 level, and the mayor for, like in the case of Kampala, for the divisions. So at that press conference held on Sunday 21st, the president announced that the secretariat was organizing earlier celebrations. However, it had been decided that the celebrations should take place after all elections have been carried out. So immediately after these local government elections of next week, the secretariat will come out and give guidance on which dates for celebrations.
What's unique about the election?
What?
What's unique about this 2011 election?
Nothing so special. It has been like any other, but this time
any other 1996 you had an election and hardly had the declaration been made and people were on the streets.
No, in 96,
2001 the same story, 2006 the same story, 2011 the same story, 2016 a different arrangement. Why?
We live in changing worlds. But if you recall in 1996, the local government would have presidential elections separate from parliamentary.
I hear you on that.
Yeah, today they are on the same date, so we couldn't. So then the government were coming like 2 years later when we held the local government presidential elections in 1996. Local government were held in 1998. So you can see these ones are in the same week.
What about 2011?
So
same week.
Well, this one it was deliberate to plan and have, as I told you, the president mentioned at the press conference that we're going to have. The Soviet had earlier planned to have celebration the following day.
Moses, I can hardly find after the elections anybody wearing President Museveni's yellow shirt since the election, the declaration. And people are reading this and saying, instead of having people wearing proudly their party colors, celebrating the victory, you have them replaced by police and the military.
Don't worry about that.
There's something...
First of all, towards the elections, there was fear within the population. Even up now, some people are still fearing. The fear was that the people in opposition were planning to cause chaos in the city. And if people were cautious, I know for a fact, for instance, even some schools send messages out to parents, to guardians that now we are going for election, you buy a lot of food, stay about water, stay in the world, things like that. So they were scared. Embassies sent out messages to their citizens that stay indoors, be careful, and how you move around. So there was some fear in the population, and it's good for people to be cautious about their security. So what's wrong with that?
You're the presidential advisor for
because see, remember after last election, people were treated to walk to work, the city being put into chaos. Now, when people are being told that something like that was likely to happen, people have been cautious. There's no doubt about it. But if they don't put on their t-shirts, doesn't mean that their will and mind has changed. Yes.
Well, this election is unique. You're the presidential advisor on political affairs.
Yes.
What's your reading of the political temperature after this victory?
It's fine. There's no problem. People are happy.
You're talking about fears and then you're saying people are happy. That's a contradiction.
You see, the fear implanted by the people being cautious, it doesn't mean, because you see people came out and voted freely. Like on that polling day, I was calling different, especially evening, but like this time I was calling different people from different areas. I remember calling somebody in Pakwach. He said, oh, here in Pakwach, the town council, there are 20 polling stations, problem 7 except all of them. So people,
you expect people like that to come out and celebrate, wouldn't you?
Yes, but celebration doesn't mean you're going to the street. People are celebrating in their own mind, in their own home. We would have a national celebration organized by the party after all elections are done.
What do you say to people who believe, and the claim made by especially your opponents in this election, the Forum for Democratic Change, Dr. Kizza Besigye, Go Forward, Amama Mbabazi, PDP, Dr. Bed Bwanika, and the Farmers Party, Benin Verayo, who believe you stole this election?
Which team?
But you haven't had people say that you actually stole this election?
They are used to that, and they are used to it here. So Bwanika loses, said the election has been stolen. Amama comes and gets 1.4%. So the election has been stolen. That's the usual story. But I will, when I hear that, I ask a person like you, where did you vote from? If you voted, if you were there up to counting time, who won at your polling station? Now, were the results which have been, which you witnessed at your own polling station, are they different from what is there today? Because as I told you, say you want to give a Kizza district. Kizza district is where President Museveni got the highest number of votes in the district in the whole country, 176,000 plus. Now, if today you went to Kizza and told people the election was stolen, they would even think you're mad. Because they voted for Museveni and he won in their district. If you go to Kampala district, President Museveni won in that district. If you go to Arua, Museveni got around 114,000, something like that in Arua district. If you go to Muvende, President Museveni got around 140,000 votes in Muvende district. Now if you go to Muvende today and tell people that the election was stolen, they will believe you. Okay. I don't know why they're making those claims.
I like the...
If you go to Soroti today, they will tell you this is the one in Soroti. And there's no doubt about it. If you go to Ngara district, they will tell you this is the one in Ngara. There's no doubt about it. So in Kampala here, is there anybody disputing that this is the one in Kampala?
Yes, there is a dispute in Kampala that you disenfranchise a lot of people. The Electoral Commission, rather, not you, but the Electoral Commission disenfranchises a lot of people. You have the highest number of voters in Kampala district, about 1.1 million.
Close to that.
Yeah, about 1.1 million registered to vote in Kampala. You have another about maybe 800 to 900,000 registered to vote in Wakiso, and these were the most disenfranchised of the voters. And you saw the turn-up. Do you find a contradiction, if I could draw in one or two briefly here? Since I have two people from State House.
No, I'm not from State House. You guys might not like Moses' job at the moment. It's a job.
If you look at the perception, I don't care. If you look at the presidential election and the enthusiasm that greeted that election, and then you compare it directly with the LC district chairperson election, which for Kampala's case was for the Lord Mayor and directly elected councillors to the city council, or Lord councillors as they call them. 2 worlds of this exercise of democracy. In one you have queues of people waiting up to the last minute to cast their ballot. In another you have the polling constable, the presiding officer, the polling assistants lounging, looking for what to do, looking for newspapers to read, because hardly anyone has gone out to vote. What explains this variance?
Well, Charles, I think the question asked Moses earlier and the question asked me, one, the subdued celebrations for President Museveni's victory, as well as the sort of lethargy towards the local council elections, underscores the contradiction of this election. On one hand, President Museveni won, but at the same time there was definitely desire for change. And that is a very big contradiction, because I think people who voted for the president, many of them are not necessarily willing to boast about it, because the reasons why they voted for the president and the reasons why others oppose the president are both legitimate. The people who voted for the president, largely in my view, voted for political stability, for peace, which unfortunately is not the critical issue. When you get back to your house, you get back to bread and butter issues. And those who opposed him were largely opposing him on bread and butter issues. So those people who voted are sort of, they really voted without wanting to boast about why they voted. But those who opposed were so pained by their decision, even before they voted, and they are so pained. When they were complaining during the campaign, they were saying their government is not giving us jobs, government is not doing ABCD, and now when they have lost, they really feel so bitter. No? They feel so bitter. So that's the major contradiction in my view. That the reason why the president won are not popular reasons. They are really more reasons of reflection. No, the reasons of reflections, but the reason why he lost are emotional reasons. And it's very unlikely, as you have observed, that those who voted for him would come out individually to boast, to wear the same campaign gear that they were having during the campaign. As for the local elections, I'm not surprised. A bit of spin-off from the presidential election. Again, for most people, it was really the presidential election that mattered. Even those who voted for the president, once he got in, they really think it doesn't matter whether the LC5 chairman is opposition or otherwise. They have got what they wanted. But meanwhile, those who did not vote for the president were definitely demoralized, and they feel this is a total waste of time.
I think something interesting now as you come in, that the NRM won 280 parliamentary seats. I think about 25 parliamentary seats. The main opposition party, the FDC, the last count gave them about 36 seats. If that is the final position, it means FDC has lost ground by about 2 seats. I think they were about 237 in the last parliament.
First of all, I would say the number is almost the same. I think FDC had about 37, 36 last time.
No, the people they had in parliament now. Yeah. About 37, I think.
Yeah, but even last time they had 36 or so. But you remember the parliament now it was increased by 50 seats. So the percentage will come down, definitely. So, but that's the strength. Even presidential. Now, the people, and that's also a contradiction when I talk about contradictions. How would you expect to win presidential elections? And presidential elections are being held on the same day as parliamentary elections. then you cannot win parliamentary elections.
No.
You can't get 100 seats.
No, Moses, you are the
political scientist.
You are the political scientist. Yes. We're trying to read political science and say,
Yes.
You're not just a political scientist. You also have served the president for a very long time.
Yeah.
And especially you've been very active around election times.
All the times.
Yes, all the time. they seem to be really unique. You must be doing assessment internally and saying there is something wrong. Because you walk out of here, whether it's at 10 in the morning, at 7 in the morning, or at 7 in the evening, you find the mood is extremely dampened. And there must be something explaining that.
You're talking about walking out here. You go to Aru tonight. You can, because most buses are leaving Arua leave around 10. So you can leave at you can go to Arua Park, go the bus, go to Arua, and those people in the whole West Nile, there's no district which Museveni did not win. All of them, there are, I think 8, Yombe, all of them, 7-1 there. If you go to Karamoja, President 7-1 or in all Karamoja. If you go to Bunyoro, 7-1 in all of Bunyoro. If you go to Ankole, it's the same. Now, for you to talk about walking out of the studio going in, it's true that it was in Kampala, not about it.
No, but even if there was an attempt at a celebration in Konjiri, we talked about that last Sunday. There was an attempt at a celebration in Fort Portal, which happened at 8:30 in the night after the declaration. The one in Konjiri was a little earlier and a little bigger, maybe about 500 people on the street, which is understandable. But the mood, if you're assessing and you're being honest internally and taking a hard look, you would say there is something wrong. And the world is trying to understand, viewers of the Fourth Estate are trying to understand what is that, what is it about this election?
I told you, we had wanted to have celebrations in Kampala on Monday, 2 days after the announcement of the results. We agreed to postpone it until after.
You found the ground.
No, that's not like that. But you're asking me, I'm saying the truth.
Because we're also hearing other things.
No. There was nothing hostile about that. What would be hostile?
I mean,
you find it difficult too. As I said, people have been cautious about, because they were expecting some people were planning for chaos. But the security system has been able to nip all that in the heart. So people were a bit cautious, but if we had called for celebration, they would have all come.
I did find a few people, a handful of people at railway grounds after the declaration. I'll show you a picture once we take the break, which we're going to take now. I'm going to ask a question. We're going to go into the next discussion. What next, especially with Go Forward indicating they're going to challenge the result in court, and Dr. Besigye claiming, and his lawyers complaining, that the client hasn't been given the opportunity to take the next logical step of challenging this result where he feels aggrieved. That is by having police keep him at his house, or in Nagalama, like the joke I read at the beginning, since the election. We'll discuss that after a short commercial break. You're still watching the Fourth Estate, and we're looking at the aftermath of the February 18th elections. Since February 18th, we've had elections, at least for, you would say broadly, 5 positions. And I want to explain this, which means that we had an election on 18th February that had 3 positions being voted for, 2 of them in Parliament, one a special interest group seat, which is the woman member of Parliament for every district. We also had directly elected members of Parliament and the presidency. Then we had on the 24th elections for district chairpersons, including the Lord Mayor of Kampala and directly elected councillors. So we've had at least 5 positions. The next batch of voting is going to take care of sub-county or divisional mayors and mayors for municipal councils, sub-county chairpersons, and councillors at that level. We're encouraging people to continue and not to give up hope, or to get lethargic, but just to go out and vote in that campaign we're running called Top Hour. We have in studio with us tonight Mr. Moses Belhanda is Senior Presidential Advisor on Political Affairs. He's been with every election that President Museveni has participated in and actually won, We've had since 1996.
Yes.
That's correct. And Honorable Ecomoy, who is part of this panel, but also works at Nairobi's and S.A.D. Miller as Corporate Affairs Director. A couple of people have sent a message. Someone sent a message and said, political celebrations are spontaneous, not organized. And he's wondering how the ones in the movement became structured and organized, and invitations were sent for people to come and celebrate. And then my friend Blaze, I noted your message. Let me ask about this before you go far. Tomorrow, most likely, Amama Mbabazi's lawyers will file to the Supreme Court. The deadline for petitioning court is Tuesday. That's when 10 days expire. I think Tuesday, Wednesday. Tuesday should be the last day. 10 days expire if you count from the Saturday afternoon or evening when the declaration was done. Now, during the elections, social media was cut off. Moses, are you in a position to comment about a rumor that's been sweeping social media and telephone SMS about a plan to shut down telephone systems and internet systems tomorrow? Have you heard about it?
I haven't heard about it.
You haven't heard about it?
Yeah.
Have you heard about it?
No.
It's been all over. People are saying, please, put out the word that talk tomorrow. But I don't know how true that is. If it happens, I think it's a stupid idea from the whoever is responsible, the regulator and the special advisor.
No, I think why on election day and day after, the intelligence had a lot of information as to misuse. Or people use it, because the social media is okay for people who use it for good intentions, but there are those who are intended to use it for bad intentions, and for the good of the security of the country, it was cut off.
Does that include mobile money?
Of course, I totally disagree with Moses on that. I don't think social media can bring down a government that is popular. I mean, there are not so many people paying attention to the discussion in social media. And that is one of the reasons that unfortunately is now complicating the perception that this election was fixed by the NRM, because it created a blackout, did not want people to discuss, did not want opposition did not want opposition to sell out. What Mwanga couldn't do in 1980, the NRM did, because Mwanga was announcing on Radio Uganda in 1980. And in 2016, the NRM could shut down people from community.
No, I told you, the reason why that cut off or shutdown was carried out was for the security of the country. And anything should be done for the security of Uganda. Yeah, even we are here in this studio, but if things will go worse, we can't sit here.
Even Mwanga said he was doing it for the security of the country.
No, first Mwanga, for him, he usurped the powers of the Electoral Commission, created a new law saying the Electoral Commission cannot announce results. It is him to announce the results. That's different. The Electoral Commission carried out its work here in Uganda. The security took precaution from the commission they had, which you don't have and they don't have, but they took precaution for the security of the country.
You know, the Uganda Communications
can laugh at it, and whatever to do this, but
the Uganda Communications Commission said,
in the interest of the state.
The Uganda Communications Commission said it was requested by the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission said it did not request the Uganda Communications Commission. The telephone service providers, the biggest, MTN, said we were asked by the Uganda Communications Commission.
But I told you,
and then,
for the security of the country.
Just a moment.
Since social media came back and we are having Besigye disputing the results, disputing the results, how have they managed to exploit social media to do anything?
No.
In my view, it still remains an idol.
It's an idol, but the intention then were different. And the security didn't have come scare Ugandans. They took a precaution, and it has worked, because Uganda is safe today.
So they violated a section of the Constitution on freedom of expression.
No. For the good of the country, yes.
And mobile money?
Haven't you heard about, sometime back when you used to have roadblocks? For the security of the country, you are stopped, you are checked. Even here, when you're coming into this place, you say get out of the car, check you, do this and this. Now, would you say that's a violation of your rights?
How do you feel, Moses? for all the work you have done and for all the effort Yoweri Museveni has put into win this re-election, that Kampala looks like there's so much deployment around town.
Yeah.
Yes, there's so much deployment. The country looks like we're holding an election, not in Uganda that's been peaceful for the last 30 years, but rather we're holding this election in Afghanistan.
No.
Actually, Afghanistan is a bad example because Afghanistan has been a little bit peaceful and they're trying to send the militias back. We were like in Boko Haram territory in northern Nigeria. Or in Ukraine.
That security has not prevented you. We are now here past 10 o'clock at night to move at night to do whatever we want to do. It's only intended for those who want to do harm to you. For you who doesn't intend to do any harm to anybody, there's no problem.
Does it surprise you that your main challenge in this election has been under police restriction since the election, and naturally he should have been given an opportunity to...
Because of what he was planning, what the security has. You remember what the case they caused in the city here during the work activities? During the campaign time, he wanted to hold a rally. I read in the papers, in the monitor, that he wanted to hold a rally on Nasser Road. No, how do you hold a rally on Nasser Road? Surely. Nasser Road, by any time of the day, during the daytime, it's always busy. Now somebody says, I want to hold a rally on Nasser Road. And then the security says, no, why don't you go to your place where you want to hold a rally in an open ground and invite people to go there, like what everybody else does. So I think this is also a stubborn person. He wants to cause chaos and so forth. Some of the things are self-imposed, maybe to create attention to himself. I don't know.
Learn from the best. Political committee of the NRMs.
Fine. So, in view with past activities of causing chaos in the city, maybe that's why police is doing what they are doing.
But there have also been past activities when he has held possession through the city without causing any chaos.
You know, when those possessions take place, the people who for you do not take note, but the people close their shops for fear that they are going to be robbed. There is robbing by some of the people in the possession as they're following him. So you don't need to.
But people get robbed every day. People have jumped over my fence 3 times between November and December at my place.
You need security.
I thought what you're saying to me was security, that I should vote for President Museveni again because he guaranteed security.
Yes, guaranteed. But what is even in other countries which you think are more secure, they take place, there's no doubt about it. But very limited, and they can be reported and the things sorted out. But for him, like I said, if you go and say I want to hold a rally on Nasser Road or on Kampala Road, definitely you're going to cause chaos at that place. Because look at
this ourselves.
I wanted to go to the bigger picture. Yeah, post-election, I think the challenge now for President Museveni and the NRM is more of a PR issue. I mean, the election has been secured, or victory has been secured. The country needs to move on. And you have all this sort of pressure from internal and external saying the election was not regular, and then you need really to assert yourself. And I think one of the challenges is how do you move from an operational kind of situation where the military and police has been so dominant. I'm happy that today you're in this studio. One of the challenges has been that most of the defenders have largely been either police or military people. They're the ones who are actually in the forefront. So you're actually feeding the perception that it is the army and the police who secured this victory for the NRM, and they are defending it. They are not allowing the civilian actors to speak. The face of the victory up to now has been a military face. And I think to move on, you need to start making it more civilian, that is an elected face.
Can you transform this victory back to a civilian victory from the time Yoweri Museveni removed his military uniform, put his Rita Wagomi, I think he called it Rita Wagomi, the AK-47, his cherished AK-47, put it on the side and said, I am now a civilian elected leader. And reward him. He's fortunately for this election, he never put on uniform once. He put on the party shirt wherever he was, he's still wearing the party shirt, to take back, to actually claim your victory. What are you going to do to claim your victory?
You don't claim it.
No, you won the victory, but you haven't claimed it. To claim and claim your victory.
As I said, we are still having elections until next week. After that, work as usual. Parliament, I'm sure, will come back to sit, because the new elected MPs will swear in around June, something like that. The president will swear in in May. I think the date is May 12th. But in between is still the president. So work will continue as usual. And even today, work will continue. Today was in Hoima, presiding over consecration of the bishop. So work is going on. It's for you.
I'd like you to comment.
You don't see it.
Yes, I'd like to comment specifically on the continued restrictions on your main opponent from pursuing the court option. Are you telling him that court is not an option, so that he needs to look for other options?
No, challenge. Court is an option. You are the one who are saying here that Japan is going to court, is likely to go to court tomorrow. It was in Saturday Monitor. You have also maybe other sources.
I knew it before Saturday Monitor ran the story.
Fine. So all of them are free.
Well, this hasn't been free, clearly.
You see, to petition, what does it take to petition, if I'm petitioning?
You have Section 59 of the Presidential Elections Act restricts the petition to an aggrieved presidential candidate.
Yeah.
Number two, the Presidential Elections Act gives a very limited period for a presidential candidate to collect all the evidence they need to file the petition, only 10 days.
Yeah.
Remember, parliamentary candidates have 30 days within which to petition. The presidential candidate has only 10 days.
Yes.
And in those 10 days, what was introduced in the judicial system in 2001, the substantiality test, means you really have to find a lot of evidence. 2006, it was repeated. And just last year, not last year, I think 2014, when the court finally ruled, keeping that section, that requirement of substantiality to prove that you are rigged out of an election, which is a very, very high stake to claim, means that Besigye and his people needed time to go out and find that evidence, collect their DR forms, declaration of results forms, put their case together. Look at what happened, Moses. Besigye is restricted to his home or Nagalama police station. The party headquarters is guarded by the police from before the declaration, I think, until today. I don't know if they have retreated from there. How do you respond to claims by your opponents and by independent observers that you have actually, you not only tied his hands before the election, manipulated the election day itself, but you have continued to frustrate his efforts to challenge the result using the only available civil means, which is a legal process?
First of all, Besigye's hands are not tied before elections. He moved out the whole country as he wanted. He even moved much earlier during their own internal elections within FDC between him and General Muntu. He moved out throughout the whole country. Each one of them moved freely. After that, after he was nominated as a presidential candidate, he moved around the whole country with Muntu at most of the rallies, at least what I watched. So he was never restricted, as you mentioned. The restrictions he has had now as a result of his running around the police on how he has handled himself. Now, when it comes to petition, you mentioned collection of DR forms. Supposing candidate Museveni was to petition the Supreme Court, so it's the lawyers work out to prepare a petition. What will only be required is to sign it. The procedures the lawyers will advise him on to but he not be the one to go look for the other forms and blah, blah, blah. So I believe an organized the election campaign council team first of all must have had the mechanisms of withdrawing their DR forms. We had 28,010 polling stations. Each candidate was entitled to 2 polling agents per polling station. and another 2 agents at the district tally center, and another 2 agents at the national tally center at Nambole. Now, you must have a process of collecting your DR forms.
And they met that process.
No, not by the candidate.
They tried to use they tried to use the regional office in Imbarara to collect the declaration of results forms from the Ankole sub-region. Police raided the office, arrested their agents, and apparently they claim confiscated their DR forms. They tried to collect them centrally at the party headquarters in Najanankombi. Police raided them on Friday 19th.
I don't know
as well as Friday 19th.
I don't know the reason as why police raided. Maybe they had some information which you and I don't have. But what I'm explaining to you is that an organized campaign team or camp must have a mechanism of retrieving those DR forms from the polling stations up to the center and compare. But what did they come up with? They said, I want to walk to the Electoral Commission on the following day to get results from them. Surely that was in an uncalled for, in my opinion.
Who determines was uncalled for votes?
No, because each candidate,
his opponent.
First of all, no candidate has to go to first individuals with the Electoral Commission to pick the DR forms for the Electoral Commission, because each candidate receives one DR form from a polling station. The EC receives also one. The second one is put in the ballot box and sealed there until the court orders it for opening. So, if he was going to the Electoral Commission, which one would be given to him? Because the Electoral Commission has its own.
But the Electoral Commission is a public office, isn't it?
It's public office, yes.
I have been to the Electoral Commission. Dr. Chibundu is a very amiable fellow. He invites you. He will allow you to find him in his office. He operates an open door policy. Now, Chibundu has not complained that he didn't want Dr. Besigye as a visitor. Some workers of the secretary of the commission have not complained that they didn't want Dr. Besigye as a visitor.
Yes. Each candidate, I was told you, is entitled. Was entitled to a DR form from a polling station. One is sent to the Electoral Commission. One is the other 8 get each a copy from polling station. Now, if you are saying that you Electoral Commission give you the one you received, then I take it to court. Now, which will be evidence of the Electoral Commission?
No, the information of the Electoral Commission is public information.
Yes.
But I mean,
you are saying you want to go and they give them their DR forms.
Let me start from where I've been listening. One, the restrictions on Besigye in Kasanga. Again, I think it's a terrible PR problem for the police and government by extension. I think Besigye's pattern is well known. Today he came out up to church. He came through Kalere. They had his fans cheering him. So this assumption that he could actually sort of storm State House, capture power using the street. I don't think Ugandans are ready for that. I think I even pitied Dr. Besigye to some extent that while he's being isolated there, his masses of supporters are basically aloof. And until when it comes to Kalere, they have not bothered to go and confront this police which is surrounding him and try to like it happens in all revolutions. You go and confront, you have to solve the question by blood and iron. It's not by debate. So again, the police, I think, is exaggerating the threat from this in terms of if he was left free. I think by now, maybe the tension would have died naturally, but they are helping it, allowing foreign envoys to go there, building a lot of clout around Besigye. Then to the court thing, again, of course there's a big contradiction on the side of Kizza Besigye. He so many times stated that he would never go back to court. Again, this is another big contradiction on his part, that he now claims that he could go to court. He had already said that these courts were up to no good, and many people agree that the results a foregone conclusion.
The eternal condition is permanent.
But I think encouraging, you need to try and take some position. You may be wrong, but you must hold to it. And I think that's what President Museveni has outwitted many of his opponents, because he can stubbornly stick to his position and maybe he wins or he loses. So again, for him to say that he wants to go to court, I think is not serious, because this election was defined as for him as an election to defy courts and all the systems which are unfair, which are just being playing to your Museveni's rules. So why does one go the same institutions? I think his defiance is not flowing to the logical conclusion. It's not
as you were saying, the EC, Electoral Commission is free for all. But see, the way it was related, I want strong Electoral Commission with my supporters to go and pick the results. In any case, if you want, you could send a lawyer, he has lawyers, he has other people, you could go there. But if you want to go by yourself and then they say you want to pick the declaration forms from the Electoral Commission, where they give you as at polling stations. So what EC has is only his own property, and you want to
he wants to compare what he has with what the Electoral Commission has.
The Electoral Commission,
because I think his complaint is there are variations in the transmission process where things might have changed. So he wants to find those.
The Electoral Commission has given every candidate a soft copy of the results per polling station.
Yes.
Now, those are the ones they obtained from their own DR forms. So since he has his own other DR forms, together with other colleagues
Sure, let me complete. He could have gone to look for something to discuss with the Electoral Commission.
Listen. Yes. Since we don't speak for him, at least I'm saying what I read in the papers, so that he wants to go and pick that.
Yes.
So if you say he could have tried to talk to them over other issues, but at least that he never stated it. But what he said in the papers, he wanted to go to pick their forms from them. Fine. But the EC has delivered to each and every candidate the software, the soft copy
of the results
per polling station. They have put on their website, and you've also given all candidates the results the tallies at a district level and given to everybody. So basically now, since he has shown the other forms, the few he has, and the results from the Electoral Commission, he can compare. And where there are no similarities, there are discrepancies, he would by now come out to a press.
Well, I think he will be coming out, and we would have been asking some of these hard questions to Dr. Besigye himself if we'd had the opportunity to meet him as we planned earlier.
Maybe you can call from Cassandra.
Yes, I think he's watching. I think he's watching the show. Dr. Besigye, you can call in because we'll be opening the phone lines when we come out of this web, but also be noting that
I just wanted to take a sort of advice to the opposition, if I may give. All this time, they have even built up the narrative that this election was rigged, and a lot of people, a lot of commentators have bought in, foreign and internal. But they have not thrown in alternative results. Okay. They don't have the press conference to give alternative results. They should throw it out in formal. Let the debate be about what results they have, what results does the EC have.
My information as of yesterday was they were short of a few districts to complete taking their results, and they didn't want to be thrown into the crisis the Electoral Commission found itself, saying we have to make a declaration on partial results. They don't have all the results before not provisional results. But let's explore what candidate Yoweri Museveni intends to do immediately he swears in next. Moses devoked the manifesto. He should be able to tell us where President Museveni intends to take this, and of course we'll be opening the phone lines for you to make your contribution in this show. We'll be right back. Welcome back to this last segment of the Fourth Estate. The phone number will be running on your screens in a moment. You can call in and make your contribution. The aftermath of the 2016, the February 18th election, I think that's the more accurate representation. There is no confirmation yet that phones and the net and social media and internet will be switched off tomorrow, as the rumor was earlier in the day. Or of course, we haven't spoken to the Uganda Communications Commission or the telephone service providers. I think the service providers are the least reliable now, because they act and then they explain later. They don't alert their clients. I think they lack the discipline to alert their clients that something is afoot for them to be able to prepare adequately. There must be people who suffered, and I think the Uganda Communications Commission also has a lot of explaining to do. Rules of regulation are not supposed to necessarily disenfranchise, disadvantage Ugandans and violate sections of the Constitution, even when they have a law that guides them. Mr. Besigye, let me come back to you on the question of, given that President Museveni has won this term with the highest level of contestation, unlike previous elections. My colleague Angelo Izama wrote in 2006, I think, 2006 or 2011, he said President Museveni has won this election, but actually he becomes weaker. The evidence of this election, the performance of the opposition in the first place, and the controversy that has followed this election suggests that President Museveni will be, politically at least, in a weaker position compared to his previous victories. How does he plan to navigate and make sure that he implements his manifesto?
He can never be weaker. Why? How? The president is
in terms of percentage win, he has dropped significantly.
Well, in 2006 it was 58, 59, today it's 60.
And that's when Angela wrote that article.
Yeah, you see, you don't worry about that, because even then he was never weaker. He continued working for the good of the country. He wrote an article which came out today in the newspapers, explaining that the movement win would have been much higher had it been not some of the issues he pointed out, like his poor service delivery in some cases, and lack by the political leaders to supervise that service delivery, the accountability by some of the accounting officers, some corruption. Now, those are issues which are going to be addressed, and sooner than later, the movement for clarity will continue to be up. Don't worry about the 60%. It's a good measure which you have gotten. Take for instance Kampala. Kampala, you see, people, let me explain this. People have been going around that, the delay of voting in Kampala must have been planned by people in NRM, so because this was called the West Stronghold, Kampala Wakiso. I said, but from where? In all these elections, from 2011, if I can recall clearly, President Museveni has obtained the highest number of votes in Kampala compared to all other districts. So there is nobody in the movement who would plan to delay the delivery of materials in Kampala so that to deny Museveni all the big votes, all the number of votes. In fact, today, like in the last election, we lost Kampala by 3,800 votes. Having lost by 70,000 votes in 2006, but in the last was in 2011, 3,800. Now, and Kampala was our number one. Let me come. Now, if you look at the districts which gave President Museveni the highest number of votes, the first one is Kibale with 176,000, followed by Wakiso, 174,000, followed by Kampala, number 3, 150,000, and then moving the number 4. Now, I'm just giving you that scenario that President Museveni is the biggest beneficiary of votes in Kampala and Wakiso. Therefore, that talk that the delay of delivery of materials in Kampala was intended to benefit President Museveni is totally rubbish. Because President Museveni is the beneficiary of the votes in Kampala. So the EC has come and explained the reasoning, but it has nothing to do with the benefiting of the
I have my own theory that I've had from elsewhere, but not for now because I need to bring Obama into this discussion. Moses says the president is actually stronger. Do you think this victory makes Museveni stronger or weaker? Both percentage-wise, electoral, but also the mood of the population and the growing strength of the opposition.
Look, Charles, I think it depends on what the president's plan for 2021 is. If he plans to cause age limit to be removed and then he will run again in 2021, as most people think he's want to do, then he will be strong politically, but in terms of government efficiency, I think it will continue getting weaker. Because for him to win 2021, first of all, you have to spend a lot of time trying to get age limit removed. That means a lot of compromises. That means the nature of the next administration will be bloated. You have to accommodate a lot of players who have come through this political campaign season. They must get into the government structure, which will run counter to efficiency. Both as a businessman as well as a political actor, you know that for you to have an efficient system, you must not load it with a lot of head count. But if the president has plans for 2021, he can't avoid that. But if this is his last term, I'm sure he would be able to get stronger in terms of asserting, like against corruption, making sure government works.
Trying to build a legacy.
So 2021 intentions will be very critical.
Okay.
If there's a plan to remove term limits, I believe government efficiency will go down even more.
Now, so you think about 2021?
Well, 2021,
As President Museveni is advisor.
NRM will provide a candidate.
No, I'm asking you as an advisor of the president. Yes. 2021, what are his plans?
I don't want to go into speculation. We haven't discussed it.
You haven't discussed it?
Yeah.
You think he wants to be on the ticket?
What?
You think he will plan to be on the ticket?
I said I don't want to go into speculation.
But according to so far, he has never planned to be on the ticket. He has been the NRM.
So NRM will provide the candidate, no doubt about it. On government efficiency, there are many things. If you read our manifesto carefully, it was first of all looking at the achievements in the last 5 years, the weaknesses observed during implementation of government program and how to go about them. Take for let me give you an example. And Madam Kajina has started implementing this in Yundra. You find that a road, the Mkono Kayunga road is under reconstruction. By this time, they should have done about 30% of the work, but they have so far done 10% of the work. Now, that inefficiency, explaining why are you 20% backwards instead of behind schedule. All that has to be ironed out and cleaned up so that if you are a contractor, you're doing the job.
Do you think President Museveni is in a position in this term to get those kinds of results?
Sure. There's no doubt about it.
Why do you think so? What has just told us, he's got, depending on what his plans are for 2021, he's got to find himself making compromises, negotiating with members of parliament to make sure that...
I disagree a bit with one that in any case, if for us we're working for the NRM, President Museveni is our leader in NRM. He would also work for the next NRM leader. Whether NRM was bringing him or otherwise, well, that's not the issue now, is for NRM, the party, to stay in power. That's the intention of any political group as NRM. Now, who becomes the person presented by NRM will be agreed on by NRM.
That's what you've been saying for the last...
we don't change.
has worked for the next NRM leader, and that next NRM leader is the new
But in any case, you will need for the next NRM campaign to work hard now so that you win those campaigns. If you get compromised, then you can't win an election. Kampala here. Kampala will not sit this time round, but we have already, for us, we're already working to ensure that we bring Kampala back on board.
Kampala is a classic case. The president has had to say Disenfranchisement for all the good things she did. Because political problems, it means now you are going to compromise to avoid this street. I mean, the young men going to Besigye. You now have to make sure that all the proper actions KCC wanted to bring towards border control and what have you, will have to pull back from them.
It's not pulling back from them, but also being realistic in some of the cases. So we know the problems. There's no doubt about it. Challenges in Kampala. As the president said in his address to the press last Sunday, was that the Kampala vote was a political vote. People voting politically that this has not been done right, so we're voting against. It was a protest vote, and we are aware about the issues. We're going to handle them. We have them listed down, ABCD. The good thing we do, some of us do out of research. I interact with people that you might think I don't interact with. People there in Chikubo, people in those garages, in all those places. So we are going to turn around these issues in Kampala which led to the protest vote.
Okay.
And I can assure you, by the time of the next election, the government will...
But what I'm saying, how do some of those issues actually are about abating breaking of the law?
Not necessarily.
Yeah, because they are popular issues that they run counter to efficiency of the city.
Not necessarily. Let me give you an example. You get the street vendors. They were removed from the city center, which is fine. But if you find this street vendor in Kamocha or in Nankurabi and arrest him from there, now you haven't provided a market, not a where they can work from. Then you're also being too excessive. So they can be out of the city center, fine. But if they are selling in Kawempe, in Waise, let them sell from there. In the meantime, as you are planning to build a market.
Okay. Now, how do you plan to live at a political level? How do you plan to deal with Elias Lukwago and his new council?
Elias Lukwago has followed the law. There is a law which governs the KCCA. As a mayor, he has followed that law, work with the government. Because see, remember...
He was frustrated.
Remember, maybe it was himself also. He was a mayor who was... anyway, he has been elected. He has followed the law to the letter. And everybody should follow the law. He has to work with the central government. The central government, through the parliament, which passes the budget, which Kampala implements. They don't have their own resource as KCCA. They have some money they collect through some taxes they collect here and there, some selling or trading licenses and so forth and so forth. But that's like a tenth of the money or the budget for the Kampala KCCA. The big chunk of the budget comes from central government and given to them for implementation. So he has to work with the government.
You're not doing him a favor as an elected leader.
No, he's favored himself.
No. I mean, the central government doesn't have to do him a favor for him to be able to...
He just has to follow the law. Follow the law. We work with each other. We don't have... It's not it's a relationship set down by the law.
Yes, by the law. But
the mayor, you do this. The central government, you do this.
But you and I know that the jury is still out there on whether the central government followed the law or broke the law in getting Elias Lukwago impeached, and therefore, with all the councillors he's been working with, we taxpayers in Kampala paying him a salary without them doing any work. And because this has been caused by a political fight between the NRM and President Yoweri Museveni and Elias Lukwago, who belongs to the opposition.
Well, if it's, as you said, if the matter is still before court, just wait for court to make a decision. But now that Lukwago has been elected, he has to work within the law. Simple. Yes. And if he works within the law, nobody will
just remind
for anybody, for that impeachment to have taken place, it will also take place within the law.
Yes. And the question I wanted to ask, what law did he break in his current term that he hasn't been able to work? That it made it difficult for him to work?
It was not very difficult. He was impeached by his councillors in accordance with the law. Now has been elected, he has to work within the law. And the impeachment was, they were claiming that he was not working within the law. That's why I said he has to follow the law. Simple.
So how do you feel as a political advisor that all the councillors who caused his impeachment have been punished by the voters in Kampala?
Oh,
and they were voted by the voters in Kampala, now they've been punished by the same voters.
This is just democracy. We preach in NRM, we preach democracy. People should be able to elect their voters freely, and they have made a choice. Like they have made a choice. I mean, if the residents and everybody was following that when they elect you, they vote you out, you celebrate your loss and keep quiet instead of making noise. We haven't made noise that Lukwago has been elected or the rest councillors has been. Many of them didn't come back. It's a democracy.
The rest of noise has been made. Maybe you haven't had. But maybe my last. Our time is out. We need to be getting out of here. But the last one. What should we expect? A lot of ministers were voted out in this election. What should we expect from President Museveni towards swearing in?
Well, towards swearing in, he will be the same cabinet which is there now. Will still be the cabinet until when he appoints a new one after swearing in. for whom he appoints ministers, that's his choice as a president. He can,
I thought you as a party have an...
well, still, the party can make a contribution, but to the president, and the president is the one who makes appointments of ministers and all those other positions. So it is his choice.
Okay.
He can bring in...
Charles, I think the mass defeat of many ministers and really opens a